Hello, welcome to my live Substack. My name is Vic Vogel, and my Substack's usually on leadership and communication, and I think that's an important topic area to cover, but I don't want to talk about that tonight. Tonight, I just want to talk about government and the people in the United States of America. Let me come up here a second. There we go. No, that doesn't work either. Trying to get my camera so I'm centered better. There we go. Now I'm looking at the camera. So I want to talk about this because I'm trying, there's so much frustration, so much anger, and people don't feel like they have any control. And, of course, if I were to approach this in my consulting days, I'm not a consultant. Just a few days ago, July 8th, I turned 80 years old, so I'm not into consulting. I don't want to get back into that kind of a pace. But if I were, and somebody said, I'd like you to help us with the government. We'd like the government. We're not happy with their leadership, our leadership. See, interestingly enough, if you're in a company and the company's leadership is coercive and dictatorial and threatening and abusive almost to the point of being abusive, employees have some recourses. They can quit. They can go find a union. The union can come in there, and all of a sudden you're negotiating with the union and you have the full force of the workforce behind it. So employees have a lot of power, but they don't know it and they don't use it. They have a lot of authority to counterbalance that coercive leadership out of a company. The people of the United States, 300 million or maybe more now, we don't feel like we have any power. We're sitting there watching a guy actually literally steal from the United States. Well, and let me rephrase that since I'm on a live Substack program. It's my opinion, my First Amendment opinion, that this guy is stealing from the people of the United States of America, just blatantly out in the open. It'd be like, a gangster on the streets. And it's a man who's been stealing most of his life. At least he's convicted of that. He's been convicted of like 40 counts of burglary or fraud in his company, and he was in charge of the company. Nothing happened in that company without him. So my point is this: we the people feel like we don't have any authority. We don't have any control over this. We cannot stop this from happening because the man got put in the office. The first thing he did was fire everybody that wasn't going to do exactly what he said and hire everybody who did. So he now controls the government. And it would be like, if we reverse that scenario, if we took it to a corporation and the leader in the corporation was in control of it, he owns it, he hires and fires people, he sets policy, he does all that. But then the employees just decide, well, let's take Amazon, hundreds of thousands of employees. What if they organized to walk away from Amazon, period? Just leave Amazon and not work at Amazon and shut it down for a month. Oh, well, probably a day would do it before they went nuts. But I mean, literally cut off the revenue from those bosses. And the boss couldn't get them to come back to work. He couldn't force them to go back into that building and go to work or office, wherever. All over the world, everybody just stopped. Amazon would stop in its tracks. Nobody would be getting their packages. None of the things that you ordered would be coming to you. Refunds would be flowing in, but you wouldn't be getting the refunds because they wouldn't have the money. All of a sudden, it stopped coming in. They would have to start selling off all their assets to pay for the refunds. That is the power that the people, the employees, have with that company, but they won't get together in unison and use that power because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to connect and create that kind of agency that they have at their hands and their fingers. They have that, but they don't know how to do it. But it would be, and that boss, when all those people walked out, he couldn't command them to come back. He couldn't hire enough people fast enough for that company not to suffer billions of dollars of losses, maybe even destroy it, shut it down totally. Because who would want to go to work for a company where everybody in the whole company left it, except the executives? Who would want to work for a company like that? I mean, even if they were paying $100 an hour, I don't know, maybe somebody would do that, but it wouldn't be enough. And they couldn't find enough of them qualified to do all the things they built up over the years. But the people don't recognize they have that power. Now let's transfer that to the United States government. We out here don't recognize we have that power. So what are some of the things we could challenge as citizens of the United States of America, 300 million people strong, united under one thought to do one thing correctly. If there's one thing, let's take one thing I am pretty sure everybody in America hates: insurance. So here's how you think about how insurance works. You pay $2,200 a month, or $2,400, $2,500, maybe some people pay $3,000 car insurance a year. And maybe they go 5 years with no accidents. They've paid that company $15,000 so they can have some protection money in the bank just in case. But all the people who haven't had any accidents, a person has an accident, they get sued by a law firm, and they're paying $2 million to somebody because some trucker ran into them or something. and all that money I paid in there, that's what they take, and they settle this one little claim so that they can still say profitable. They use all of that. They don't bank that money for me in case I have an accident that could be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 or $6,000 to get my car repaired. Okay. They cover a percentage. They take out their $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 deductible. then they negotiate down with those people to pay less. And then everybody gets, all the people out here get undercut so that insurance company can keep that top line going. And I'm thinking, yep, that's what's happening. We have lots of power. So what if we said this? What if we said, as an insurance company, what you have to do is you can take that money, okay, and everybody pays it in. And if you don't pay in, you don't obviously get the money back, okay? But if you pay money in, it has to be going into an account that pays for your future injury. So what happens is, 5 years go by, you've paid $15,000, you've had no accidents, you have the option to take some of that money back or put it into some sort of retirement fund or bonds or whatever you want to do with the money. But it comes back to the people because they actually drove safely for 5 years. Okay? But that's not how it works. This one person over here who may have not, that they insure, who may have been, in fact, driving drunk, kill somebody, and they end up paying a large sum of money because of that person. Money I paid in, but I didn't have any accidents. Where in the world does that make sense in the business world? Where does it make sense anywhere in the world? Why don't we force insurance companies to set up accounts, keep money according to the individual that's in the account, and then get that money back after a certain period of time, say 2 years or 5 years, if you want to call it 5 years, that I can take, 80% of that money back. Okay. You don't even have to pay me interest. Just give me the 80% back of the $15,000 I paid because I drove safely all year. That's kind of, and then, there's all kinds of arguments that you could pose, I guess, to shoot that down. But there's not an argument against the fairness of it. That the people of this country are being raked over the coals. Now, they're being raked over the coals by Donald Trump doing his stuff, and they're being raked over the coals by other companies. The healthcare industry is a big one. Same thing at that. That's kind of crazy. And nobody is getting together and sitting down and talking about this. I keep bringing things back to interpersonal communication. I have an axiom. An axiom is something that's like, it's been tested for years, and it's consistently the same all the time. And my axiom is this: when you have more than two people involved in something, everything begins and ends with interpersonal communication. That discussion between me and you, if there's just the two of us, me and the whole country, if it's the country. But it begins that way. And when you don't take advantage of that connectivity, putting our discussions together to think about, well, look, is everybody unhappy with insurance? Why don't we make them do something about it? How about we do that? How about we elect people who will make laws to do what I just said? Hey, you can take him $15,000 over 5 years, or it probably should be less than that, really, because it doesn't make sense. I mean, they're really, charts are way off the chart when it comes to how much insurance costs for cars. But there's something that could be created that would take care of the people, where the general concern would be for the people. You got to give the company the administrative overhead and a little profit for them to be able to make money to do, for somebody to head up and build this company and work it. But it doesn't need to be the gargantuan amount of money that these companies have been making, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's insurance, whether it's banking, whether it's healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and IT, or the technology world, we call it. I don't know what it goes everything from watches and little gadgets all the way up to AI. And that's a large area to cover. But it's like nobody stops this stuff. Nobody challenges it. And everybody kind of points to the government and says, that's their job. Their job is to see that stuff and then write laws to protect us again. No, it doesn't work that way. First of all, let's think about how they're doing business today. I'm interested in how they do business today. So it appears that Congress can take weeks off and do nothing and get $180,000 to $200,000 a year doing their job. Wouldn't you like that? I think I'll run for Congress. I can see why this guy up in Maine ran for Congress. Why not? I mean, damn. It's, $200,000. I would run as a Republican because $200,000, and Mike Johnson takes us out like 4 or 5 weeks out of the year, or maybe out of 8 weeks and a quarter, we may be there too. So, I'm got 6 weeks of vacation. I can go home. I can do whatever I want to do. But I'm not in there legislating. I'm not creating anything. I'm not getting anything passed. I can see why somebody would want to be a congressman. I can see why they would fight to stay in there, because there's no accountability. And we, the people, look at this and we go, well, there's nothing we can do. We put them in there. Yes, there is. We can put people in that will say, if we don't like what you're doing, we can recall your ass. Right now, the public can't recall a senator. He's in there. You elect him for 2 years. He's in there for 2 years, good or bad, unless the Senate as a whole decides to kick him out for sexual harassment or something like that. But he's in there for 2 years. That doesn't have to be. We could elect people who are going to say, look, you have no guarantee. If your constituents are unhappy with you and they don't like the way you're doing business, they can put together petitions just like they do for governors and recall your ass and bring you home and fire you on the spot. Now, let's think about how they do business. How many times have they sat down? I think I watch hearings and I go, first of all, those are a waste of time. They're literally a waste of time. And not only that, they frustrate Americans. It's frustrating to watch them. It's psychologically affecting us, I think. We don't need them to do that. They don't need to hold those hearings. They can get in a room and talk with each other, then come out to the public and tell us what they came up with. I don't need to hear their bullshit that I see when they hold these hearings. Both sides are doing this. They're just arguing, fighting, debating. There is no connection. There is resistance to connection. That's even worse than just no connection. we don't even want to try to connect. So I'm thinking, we don't know how to do the standard business group dynamics thing that everybody else is doing in companies or in schools, or, I mean, things we teach kids in elementary school about getting along together and listening to others, etc. That's something that's not happening on any side anywhere in our government. So if you ask Vic, just assessing if I went down, I have a 28 question interpersonal communication 360-degree assessment, and I wrote it and put it in Google, so it's cheap. You don't get a 300-page report. It takes 5 consultants to go through and explain to you. You get the gist of what the issues are just by looking at a bar graph and saying, yeah, I see that. There's the problem. But anyway, I have that. And I could tell you, I could issue that. And I think if I issued that to all of the America and asked them to evaluate the communication of our government, I'm pretty certain I would get back a strong indicator that our government doesn't know how to communicate. They do not know how to connect. The stuff that we're teaching leaders in companies, the dilemma with that is they are showing or emulating what you can get away with, and the way you should be thinking about business is corruption and coercion and threats and just, all kinds of what we would call unethical and immoral behaviors. Something you wouldn't put up with in your family. Your family, even if it was broken families, don't even put up with this much unethical and immoral behavior. Somebody challenges, somebody usually comes to the front and challenges it. But it just seems to flow. And then the people who we say were the pillars of our society, the Apples, the Metas, the Googles, the Microsofts, we find out their leadership are, a little on the immoral side. and the fact that they will go in and sell out their beliefs that they keep telling employees about their culture, they go in and sell out just to keep the stock price a little bit higher, or keep the money flowing, or get that particular bill passed that gives them some, loosens up the regulation on safety or something that they want. That's not something that's in the best interest of their employees, by the way. But you look at what they're doing, they're wholeheartedly selling out their souls and the souls of all of their employees who built these corporations, and basically saying, you don't count for shit. You are nothing. I am going to go up there and save Apple by giving Trump millions of dollars and some sort of gold thing. You got to have some sort of gold thing. I don't care. Hell, it could be a trinket that you painted gold that you bought at Walmart and give it to him, and he'd love it. It's gold. It's gold. I can say I got something gold. Okay, so this is beginning to impact all the businesses who think they can get away with all of this stuff out there. And they will until everybody in this country just raises up and finally speaks with one voice. The majority becomes truly a voice to be reckoned with, where they are all coming together in their little communities. It starts like right there in your district, and all of you sitting down around the table over coffee at the coffee shop and saying, we need to stop this shit. We need to stop putting up with it. That's it. We need to put in a bill. We need somebody that's going to go in there and write a bill and get it passed that anybody who becomes a senator or House of Representatives or anybody who is put into any kind of important position like a Secretary of State or whatever, if the people are unhappy with them, they can get a petition to have them removed, a vote, to bring a vote in their district to have them removed. And your congressman is going to behave one hell of a different way when you have the ability, or the senator too, you have the ability to remove them 2 months after they're in office. Because you're going, wait a minute, you're not doing anything you said we were going to do for us. You're just going up there and being like them. So you can do that. You can get together in your districts and begin to bring everybody together. And this isn't socialist or fascist or Republican or Democrat. This is just all of the people that I know that are in all those categories, by the way, who I consider friends and are together. I know when they sit down and talk, they are not happy about anything. Either way, whether they call it socialist or fascist, is coming from the political realm, not who they are. They only know prices for groceries are too high. This insurance really doesn't seem fair. Damn, I can't get any health care. I can't afford health care. Medicine is, I have to decide between what I want to do, food or medicine for my kids. What kind of friggin' decision is that you have to make as a people? But you have the power. If we ever get people together, district by district, and then other districts begin to talk, and then states begin to talk between each other, if they ever start unifying, then all of a sudden the power, there's not enough money to fight that power. Because it isn't about the money. It's about your ability to put people in positions who are going to vote the way you want and then be held accountable, knowing they're going to be held accountable. If they don't do this, if they start taking money from big companies or whatever, and you don't want them to, you can write them off, fire them. Get the petition going, get it documented, present it, boom. But you've got to write laws that set that up, that are firm, concrete, will withstand the challenges that are pushed against them. And you can do that because the vast majority of unity, the intelligence we would get out of unity, this far exceeds anything AI could even think of, because AI is created by humanity. And so we have all of that AI has no idea how to do yet. And until we allow that to happen, we could stop that in its tracks tomorrow. Say, that's it. No, you can't do that. We're not going to do that in America. Okay. China can go do it if they want. But, when they see that Americans are not going to put up with that, most likely the Chinese people are going to come together. And the last thing that China wants is a revolt. Trust me, that happened in the Mao Zedong era. and they don't like that stuff. They don't. That's not fun for them. They like the nice. I'm totally in control, and you let me be totally in control because it works for you. That's how it works over there. So, um, uh, we ask ourselves. The idea is if you're working in a team, you're working on a project. A lot of times you'll challenge the status quo, the existence of something, just to play with it, just to see what would happen if we did break this down. I know when I used to consult in the strategy sessions all week long, Friday afternoon, you people know this if you're leaders. You've been in a hotel room and it's Friday morning and you come down to finalize everything, package it up, looks good, we're going to take it home with us. You're checking out at 11 o'clock and bring your suitcases into the meeting room, and the consultants in there and everybody's talking and they're chattering, they're having a good breakfast and things are cool. And consultant comes out and he goes, look, everything is great, but we have about 45 minutes here, and I want to take 20 of it. I just want you to give me 20 of that 45 minutes. I want all of you to sit down in those tables and those teams that you were in. And we still got the paper on the wall and the flip charts and all that stuff here for you to think. Well, let's do a little brainstorming. This strategy you put in place, you feel good about it? Yeah, I feel great. Great, I do too. I think you did a great job. But just before we go home, I want you to take this one question and brainstorm it for 20 minutes. What can fuck all this up? Go. That's it. That's the only question I want you to brainstorm. It takes them about a minute to get over me saying fuck. But then after they go through that, they get up to the wall and they start going through it, and the next thing you know, there's list after list after list and thing after thing. And then I have them spend another 10 minutes presenting, and we have a significant potential problem analysis in our hands. That's Kepner-Trago, if you want to look it up and learn how to do it. But it's a powerful piece. It's a powerful piece if you just use it, if you particularly present it the right way. So then when I lay all this out and I go, wow, I'm okay. I'm a little taken back. I want you guys, you got a couple choices. You can take this home and you guys can, and you're going to be spread out, but you can kind of, we have technology, I put all together, and you can start talking about how you're going to overcome all these things that are going to screw up your plan. And what you can do about that. Now, plan ahead. Okay? And we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And that was, whoa, somebody raised their hand and say, can we just do this the rest of the afternoon? We're supposed to have the afternoon booked out. And I said, yeah, I was going to let you go home early, but I said, well, let's take the afternoon. And they would spend 4 or 5 hours, another 4 or 5 hours. Some people were moving airplane flights to the next day, rechecking back into the hotel because they can get flights out to the next day. All of that was happening simply from that one question. What can screw this up? Which we don't seem to be able to ask about a freaking bill. What can screw this bill up? What would make it horrible? What would fuck it up? So I'm sitting here thinking, we need to rethink. We don't need to rethink the Constitution. We don't need to rethink the structure of the government. We do need to rethink how we conduct ourselves within those parameters. For example, having the number of representatives and senators we have is probably a good thing for the country, for all of the people to be represented. What's not good is they all go to Washington, D.C. And, this is 2026, 1980, 90. Yeah, we didn't have Zoom. We didn't have a lot of technology. We didn't have smartphones. Hell, we didn't even have computers in a lot of offices. So, yeah, you had to go to a place and meet in a group at that place. You don't have to do that today, folks. Your representative can be here with you in his office here in Yukon, Oklahoma. and that little office here in Yukon. And he can be here nearly all the time and still be able to meet and cast a private vote, which actually isn't private. I mean, hell, everybody's watching you vote, so everybody knows how you vote. But you can do that across Zoom electronically just fine, and not have to go all the way to Washington, where you're going to get bombarded by lobbyists, where people are going to come in of all kinds of power and position and try to get you to do this and to do. If they all had to go to all of the various different local offices and all of the states to do that, do you know how much of a pain in the ass that would be for lobbyists? It'd be expensive for one thing, but it'd be frustrating too. Plus, guess what? That representative is here with you. You could get a group of 30 or 40 people and say, hey, we would like to all meet with you Wednesday afternoon at 3:00 and have a couple of hours to talk about this insurance thing. We got some ideas about how we should be getting some money back if we stay healthy and don't use insurance, or we don't have accidents with cars. Some of that money comes back, and the insurance company has to be held accountable for managing that process. So we'd like to talk about how you can get a bill together and make that happen. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things you could talk about with your representatives on a regular basis. They know they would be down here hearing from you every day, not, once every quarter or so, in for a couple of days. Then they can escape back to their apartment in Washington, go out with the guys, have drinks, have, brunches and dinners, and with the executives who buy them brunches and dinners and stuff, I'm sure. The lobbyists. I can't even tell you how much money that would save. Now, might play havoc with office space in the Capitol building, but I'm betting we could figure that out. I bet you there's some ways to enhance the processing of the government, reuse that space for government employees to have some nice offices to do their work in. Yeah. Because, really, the senator doesn't need a nice office. Why would you need a nice office? You need a nice office if you're trying to play up and seem important to somebody, instead of sitting down and saying, let's just meet me at McDonald's for coffee and let's go over the notes on this and really talk about the facts. Why couldn't you do that? Why do you have to have dinner at this fancy Washington, D.C. restaurant? Save a lot of money in this country. So I think the deal is we, the people, need to kind of wake up, and we need to take some accountability and responsibility for what we're doing to put the people in the positions to put together the things we want to have happen that benefit all of us. That is something we need to do. So that's kind of my message out there for everybody who's not watching. But you're going to have a chance to see it here on my Substack. This is about connecting with us, American citizens, and deciding what the hell we want. And then realizing we have the agency to do that. The same thing we teach and help leadership create in employees so that leaders can step back and lead and employees can handle the business. And we should pay them appropriate amount of money and benefits and comforts to do that. We should do that. We should know and value them. Right now, I got a real sense that no senator or congressperson, none of Trump's secretaries or directors, and on either side of the aisle really have a concern for the people. I mean, really have a concern, because I don't see them making the effort to get out here and hold more than one town hall. And when you walk away from your people on the town hall, you have flat ass told them they don't count. You know, that you're basically saying you're too stupid to know what you need. I know what you need. It's what these guys in the oil and gas companies are telling me you probably need too. And it's not just oil and gas. It's several industries. It's pharmaceuticals. It's a bunch of big business, a bunch of capitalists. You know, the oligarch world. That's amazing. That's another topic altogether. But folks, it requires us to get together and talk to each other, communicate. But, you know, we haven't been trained to do that. I know you think you have, but you haven't. You've been taught language. You've been taught English. You've been taught manners and behaviors. But you don't understand what happens when two people connect with each other. What it means to create a message that has clarity and purpose to it. And the work that you should put into that before you talk to somebody. Or if you're a receiver, how you should be able to read the nonverbal signals and hear the language and hear all of the aspects of nonverbal communication that help you believe that that's congruent, that it makes sense and it's understandable. And you can recite it back from a feedback perspective in a way that the person says, it's exactly what I said I want. I can't tell you the number of leaders, they number in the thousands over 50 years, that have told me, you know, I told those assholes exactly what they need to do. The problem is the nonverbal signals they were sending didn't match what the word said. It confused the employees. Sometimes it pissed them off, but most of the time it was confusing. It was frustrating. And the leader didn't understand why, because they had never been taught this concept of communication, more specifically interpersonal communication, the core purpose of why and how humanity has resolved things since the beginning of time. We do not need to rebuild the hierarchical structure. We need to rebuild the inside, the guts of that structure, so that it encompasses a community-based environment, one where we communicate in an interpersonal way with each other, where it's all open, it's all transparent. We also know how to do that so it's effective. A lot of people say they want to do this, but their problem is they can't do it. They don't know how. They've never been taught what it means. I mean, I have another axiom that I form it in a statement, but I often ask it in a question format too. But it's the meaning of the message that you send to somebody always resides in the mind of the receiver of that message. Now, what does that mean in terms of creating that message? What does that concept, what does that axiom mean? That happens all the time. It happens all the time. In the end, the receiver is the one who decides what that means. Now, if it's at odds with what you've done, it's most likely something that's happened between you and that person that got in the way, that you didn't plan out and eliminate as you sent the message. That's the burden on everybody who sends a message. And boy, does that, I mean, that's just not business. That goes all the way down to family and friends and all the conflicts and arguments that happen there. But really now today, our really mess is we have 300 million people who think they don't have any agency as a country to tell the government, stop this shit and get your act together. And we are going to put people in. We don't care. In fact, it'd be really nice if they had a blank on the voting form that doesn't say Republican, Democrat, and they do, and that's called a write-in. Okay, but it's kind of like I think it would be a real interesting thing to see if everybody just wrote in who they really think ought to be in that position. I think that'd throw the whole voting thing into a quandary. They'd be going nuts trying to figure all that out. They've got to figure it out. They've told you, by the way, you 300 million people, pretty much, this is what's in the bag and what isn't. Now, what news agency can actually tell 300 million people what they're going to do? You can do that to some extent with statistics, but not when it's as disruptive as it is right now. I don't even know how the hell they know that. I would have a hard time figuring it out. They're saying, okay, who replaces this guy in Maine? I don't know. I like the guy. I don't know why. Yes, I don't like it. If he was abusive to women, he shouldn't be hired in there. But I'm wondering, why does it take whatever period of time it took for her to bring that to bear on this guy? As far as I know, it was pretty much ignored until now. He's married and been married for a while, and now it's up. So I'm confused about it. Now, I don't know all the facts about it. And like I said, if he did it, he did it. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions people need to consider before they start leaping to decisions. I hear news people calling him an asshole, and I'm going, I don't know. I don't know that much. I mean, did they know that much more than I do? Have they seen all? I guess they've seen all the data. Maybe there was a police report. Or was there? I don't know. But if that's it, then get all of that stuff on the table so America can see it. Don't just hide it and play with it. Put it all on the table. There's a police report. You did it. Why the hell didn't you tell us this when you started running? You are an asshole now. Okay. But I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear that he had sexually abused a woman. I don't know how many years ago it was. Maybe it was months ago. I don't know. But I don't know how long it's been. I don't know what was in the report. I don't know the circumstances around anybody's personal relationships and how many of you have those in your closet. There are just about all of us have something like that in our closet. Does that mean we can't be different? Jesus, if that's the case, then nobody should be running for office. At least that I can tell. It would be pretty interesting to see. So, folks, get together out there in your district. Start talking to each other. Start kind of coming together and finding out what the hell we want before, all of this happens. There's no question we want to put people in office that are going to take out what Donald Trump has put in. If you didn't vote for anybody for anything other than that, that's what I would do. But there's got to be more. There's got to be, yes, but now what are we going to replace it with? And it needs to be something that gets us involved more, that gets us to sit down at the table with each other, to connect. And I mean truly connect. I don't just mean sit down and talk, etc. But I mean connect with each other, understand each other's point of views, be okay with a little debate, but care about the person across the table enough to know they're suffering the same way you are with meals. The vast majority of them are anyway. So, all kinds of things we can do. Insurance, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. We can, keep congressmen at home here in their office, where we can get to them and talk to them and keep them under pressure. And if they want to know what pressure feels like, it'll be the pressure from the people, not the people who go up and try to get them to buy this or buy this for them, or say, hey, look, we'll handle this, or we'll make sure this goes. Lobbyists. We don't want them focused on lobbyists. We want them, if they want to feel pressure, we want them to be that pressure to be from us, not lobbyists, not big corporations. It should be from us. The best way to do that is say, hey, you don't have to go to Congress. I don't know why you have to be up there together. Now, if you want to go once a quarter, great. We can to make a big decision or something that's tough to handle. You can go up there for a week, but get your ass back here, where we can ask you, how's it going? Let me see what you've written. I can get in a car or an Uber or whatever you want to get in, go over to the office and say, how's it going? What's happening? And somebody's going to talk to you. Somebody's going to sit down and explain what's going on, what's happening. You're going, no. That's not what we said we wanted. And they're going to go, wait, but we got to do it. No. You don't got to do anything that we don't want you to do. So that's why we put you in office. You got a problem with that, you let me know right now. I'll just start the petition out in the Walmart parking lot again, and we'll get started on it. Or you can talk to us, and if there's something that's a bug about it that we need to understand, we can't get around, then you need to talk to us about why. You don't just need to tell us and say, trust me. I don't trust anybody in government today, because they don't talk to each other. They don't spend any time talking to each other. And if they do, it's tribal. It's Democrat, it's Republican. Poor independents, they have to kind of, I don't know who they talk to. I guess they talk to more towards the Democratic side, but maybe not. Just go start connecting. If you have trouble with that, yeah, that's what this Substack is about here. You can come read some of the stuff I do. There are other people out there, lots of other people out there. Diane Crampton has great programs in this area. I recommend her Substack highly. And there are other people who are just now coming on board with this communication thing. I've noticed in the last year, I've been studying this for 10 years now in my retirement. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. It's kept my mind going. But I'm beginning to realize how much emphasis is being placed on communication. And I'm beginning to realize how many people who are placing that emphasis really haven't had any education themselves in it. And that's why I put the programs I put together, they're there for people I try to price them at things that are reasonable they can do. I'm open to negotiating anything. So I'm not out here building a consulting business at 80 years old. I'm just not. I don't want to get back into that again. But I want to offer something that I think has been a real pain in the ass for people for a long time. And we've stumbled over this. And it comes back into our humanity. And that's why I push back on AI a little bit. I don't want it to get into this area too much because it is a human thing. It isn't a machine thing. Communication is never going to be a machine thing. You may try to overcome it, but it's not going to be a machine thing. Yeah, the science will grow and we will learn from that science, but it should grow as it helps humanity. We should manage that. We should have the agency and the control to manage that also. So I've talked a whole lot here, much more than I would, but it's a lot on my mind. I had a lot on my mind, and I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I've tried to stay out of politics and really stay on the communication with leadership and that kind of stuff. But I can't stand on the sidelines too much longer and watch the destruction of our country through a process that it really has a lot to do with communication. If you have questions, if you have comments, I'm open for the comments. I know people disagree with me. I've had that my whole life. That doesn't bother me. In fact, some of the things I've learned that are, I think, most helpful for me came from people who disagreed with me at times. So you make up your mind whether something like this is worth listening to or not. But I hope you see some value in the idea that we as a people need to connect more effectively, learn how to do that real well, connect effectively, and then put that power to use with the agency we have to manage our government instead of the other way around. And that's really feasible today with technology. It's one of the things technology offers is the opportunity to minimize. I mean, businesses are using this all over the place. They're using Zoom and other technology to control where they cut costs considerably for meetings and things like that. And then if they have to get together for, just to feel good about each other, that's what I would say. Hey, if you want to get together at a resort, bring the family in for the people and make it a nice, enjoyable event and get to know each other and talk these subjects out that are difficult, but make it beneficial, and then send them back where they're going to be amongst within the arena again for another 6 months or a quarter, however many times you want to do those sessions. I think those are fine. I encourage those get-togethers. That's what companies need to be doing with their remote people. Bring them in, make them feel valued, make them feel important, make them feel good. Let them have some fun, solve some problems, correct some things, send them back, let them go to work, get the hell out of their way. Let them build your company, and then treat them like they are valued and that they did help build a company. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Have a good one. It's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock here in Oklahoma. So I don't know. I guess this will go on right away, right after I click the button. So catch you later.